Welcome to your negotiation simulation for this course. So you all, as you know, are going to be negotiating a case called the Phoenix. It's a case that is from the Harvard program on negotiation. And this case is both a negotiation simulation and also a difficult conversation. As you all know, oftentimes in our difficult conversations, there's also a negotiation that's happening. There are certain outcomes that each side wants and problem solving that may take place during the conversation. So this simulation is meant to be a blend of a traditional negotiation and a difficult conversation. As you all also know from the roles that you've received, there are two different roles for this case. Half of you will be playing the role of the tutor and half of you will be playing the role of the director, and you are all split into pairs. So the purpose of this mini lecture is just to give you guys some instructions and reminders about negotiation simulations generally, and also some of the specific logistics for this case. So I believe in your past courses with BayPath in this program, you have done negotiation simulations before, but in case you either haven't or don't quite remember how these work, I wanted to give you a refresher or a baseline for it. So here's some instructions for simulations. You've both received your case packets that have your role for the simulation. So you do want to read those ahead of time and definitely prepare because you are going to be assuming the role of that person in the negotiation. So be yourself in the negotiation and act as you would given the circumstances. So you have your role, you have your identity for the negotiation, you have facts given to you, but we don't want you to assume a caricature of what you think the director of a program would look like, or assume a caricature of what you think the tutor would look like. This is you given the circumstances in this role, so you're not being asked to be an actor in this way. We want you to honor the facts that are given to you, but feel free to improvise. There's only so much information that can be given in a couple pages of an instruction sheet. A kind of classic example of this is if your partner starts off the negotiation with small talk and asks you, how the weather is. You don't have to look blankly at your negotiation instructions and say, it's not in here, I don't know. Instead, we want you to be able to have a natural conversation, a natural negotiation. So that's what we mean by honor the facts that are given to you. Those are the universe in which you are in, and also feel free to improvise. So you can kind of read into and interpret, read between the lines. If you read the instructions and it doesn't explicitly say every single thing that the person in your character is feeling, you can kind of get a gist of it that you would feel frustrated or upset or angry or happy given certain circumstances. Maintain the confidentiality of instructions and information. This one's pretty straightforward. You each have different roles and instructions, so don't send a sheet full of those instructions to the other person. Don't just read off directly off of your role to the other person. We want to keep those confidential because you do have different information in different roles. And the last one is use the simulation to practice and experiment. There's very few times in our lives that we're able to do something that is a pure simulation that doesn't have real world consequences for us and is done in a low risk environment. So if you're a little unsure about certain skills or concepts from this course and want to test them out, this is the perfect time for it. This is the perfect time to really stretch yourself and see how you can put the relational skills that we've been learning about, improving upon, and discussing into practice. So here's some of the logistics for the simulation. Beforehand, review your confidential instructions and prepare. We want this to be a rich experience for all of the partners. So we want to make sure that you are ready when you come into this negotiation. It's not going to be particularly useful to anyone if you spend most of the time in this negotiation looking down, trying to find facts, trying to remember what's going on. So make sure that you read your simulation several times, prepare yourself for it, and get ready to have this conversation. Another tip is review the pair feedback and debrief worksheet ahead of time. This will also save you all time in the debrief. As you'll see, half of the pair debrief feedback and debrief worksheet is meant to be done together live in the moment, and then half of it is meant to be done by each of you separately afterwards. So this will help you know what's coming. Durin, if at all possible, please use a medium to negotiate in which you can see each other. This can be FaceTime, Skype, Google Hangout, Zoom, really whatever works for both of you. The purpose in doing this so that we can see each other is that some of the relational skills that we've been working on, you'll get a better idea of them if you're able to have eye contact with each other and see each other's faces. These conversations are more challenging and different on the phone, and I imagine, I don't imagine we've brought them up in various discussion board posts. Sometimes they do happen over the phone or through other mediums, but because this simulation sets it up to be a in-person negotiation, we want to get as close to that as possible, and hopefully you all will be able to use a medium through which you can see each other. Also, I want you to take about 30 minutes for this simulation. This negotiation is one that could perhaps take much, much longer, but we want to cap it. So let's pretend that this is a 30-minute meeting between the tutor and the director that you all have set up. You can set an alarm on your phone, do whatever you want to keep track of the time. You, of course, don't have to call it exactly at 30 minutes. Give yourself a few minutes if you want to wrap up whatever thought you're on. But please keep it within that time frame so that we're able to make this concise and kind of put a cap on it. So after the simulation, directly after you finish your 30-minute negotiation, you're going to switch into a feedback and debrief with your partner. Please follow the pair feedback and debrief worksheet that you've been provided. So you want to be near your computer, you want to be able to pull it up in Word, because the first half of that worksheet is something that you're going to be doing together. It gives you instructions on how to walk through it. You will also need to be taking notes on the worksheet during your live debrief. So you review it ahead of time so you know what you're going to be writing down. And then on your own afterwards, you'll do the first half, part one of the worksheet together live. Thank each other however you want to say goodbye. And then afterwards, you're going to need to complete that second half of it by yourself. So those are just the instructions for how to do a simulation and the logistics for this simulation. There is a discussion feed on your module for this week. So if you have any questions about the simulation itself, about how to do a simulation, about the logistics for the simulation, about the worksheet, anything along those lines, please just pop them into that discussion so that I can answer them and then everyone can learn from your questions and from your responses.